So a recent post about rational level design kind of kicked off this weird discussion about how nobody ever uses it, nobody ever used it, maybe, but yet some people are big proponents of it. And there's this weird outside design trying to come on to game design, and I won't even get into what it is. You don't need to know it. But it made me realize that almost all of the design trends that you see are really either business or monetization schemes these days. And I'm kind of curious. I'm going to use three as an example and see if there's others that you can spot. So, one, Battle Royale itself. While an interesting game, and I like playing it, don't get me wrong, the really big breakthrough for most of the companies was cheap servers. You put 100 people on one server, no AI, it was super cheap. Now, Fortnite then did some weird stuff with AI, having AIs on there, and then other people made smaller versions. But that base idea got people really excited because instead of having like 5v5 servers spun up and having to have, 10 of those, you just have one giant server. It's a lot cheaper and a lot more efficient. So just monetarily, it was good. Cosmetics. We all know cosmetics, right? I mean, while it's an expression for the player and not having them now in games feels weird, it's for things you can buy, right? Like even my game, The Anacrusis, we don't sell them. They're just there for players to express themselves, but you can still see that tendril in there, right? But it's okay. The other one that I don't think people realize the business case of why I think this rose to such prominence for Ubisoft in particular is what I call flat palette game design. And that's where you have story missions, which were probably made by like the central crew, right? But then you have a bunch of other kinds of missions and you'll have styles of missions. So you might have like free the prisoners, and then you'll see on the map, right, there'll be like 10 free the prisoner things, or there'll be climb the tower thing, and there'll be 10 of those. Right, and there's a bunch of these kind of map missions that are kind of independent of the rest of the game that you can choose to play, and you get some kind of reward. Now, like, if you're thinking about it, the input and the output, where they go on the map, someone's going to decide that. What you get for doing those, someone will decide that. But you could take that nugget of what that is, that design that lives in the middle, and you can offshore that, right? You can send that to some group halfway around the world and tell them these are what needs to happen and go do it. And they can design something fun inside of there. And so you see a lot of this with Ubisoft, which would employ like, 10 studios on making a game. They would break up their game that way. And that's why you have this, instead of like forward always kind of design, you have this kind of flat palette where you're making a bunch of choices. And it's really a business choice as much as it's a design choice. Now, as a player, I actually like games like this. And I like having that, like, I feel like doing this, I feel like doing that kind of moment. But the end result is you do that because that's what these outsourced studios can do really easily, and it still feels coherent, right? If you were doing like a linear FPS, you would have to break them up into separate levels or something because you would feel that jolt of going from one team to another, even if somebody's sitting on top. You can always tell there's like little subtleties. I can tell level designers I've worked with, I can often tell their levels when they tell me that they've worked on something new just by playing through them, because I can spot traits of like where they like to put doors, how they like to do pathing. All right, but so my question to you is, with all that said, what are other design choices in games that were monetarily driven or business driven? Boris wants back in. That you can spot but don't mind. Like, it's cool. It's worked out. It's a good meeting of the minds. Because like the Ubisoft one really does, the Battle Royale one works out, and the cosmetics ones work out. I just don't buy the cosmetics. So then I like the whole thing. I like the dancing. Man, when you don't have dancing in a game now, I really miss it.